Thank you for joining us today at Miniature Wargaming Labs. Today we'll be painting the Grim Knight from the Batman miniature games produced by Knight Model. Now this will be our one-day paint job. Came together quickly. So to paint this one, I primed him standard Mechanicus gray, and I used the following Army Painter paints: Matte Black, Necromancer gray, Ash gray, Uniform gray, Wolf's gray, and matte white. And I used Vallejo Glossy black. Then I used two P3 colors, Pig Iron and Ryan Flesh. And from the Citadel line, I used Games Workshop's Nuln Oil and Reikland Fleshshade. So let's go ahead and get started on this guy. Now I've already primed my guy, standard Mechanicus gray. First thing I want to do is I want to tone this down even further. So I'm going to take some Necromancer Cloak, and I'm going to take a messed up brush, and I'm just going to get this guy down to where I want him a little bit darker. And I'm just going to do his tactical uniform in this color. The next step, I'm going to take some Vallejo Glossy black. And this is going to give his assault rifle that extra shininess. And we have the weapons on the back here. Now I'm going to take some Army Painter matte black, and I'm going to have his utilities be the Necromancer Cloak, and his cape let's see, we'll do the cowling and tactical gear, webbing, those will all be black. Notice he's got some knee pads here, straps, we'll get those, and we'll do his boots. Now I'm going to use some P3 Pig Iron. Get this cap off. Graceful today. Alright, I'm going to take my smooth brush, and I'm going to hit these plates here and his chest plate. See, for these plates here, I'm just going to glide the brush on the top. I'm just going to do the top of the plates. Now we're going to paint the base that he's on. We're going to make quick work of that. We're going to use some Army Painter Ash Gray here. And the trick is, I don't want to touch these stones right here, and I don't want to touch his boots or his cape. But otherwise, we can move through this pretty quickly. Now this guy's all dried up here. Next step, the next step is to apply some Nuln Oil. We're going to do this liberally. And the reason we got to make sure it's all dried up is we don't want the Nuln Oil to make the ash gray or the other paints run away. But we're going to take a brush that's falling apart, and I use this to liberally slop Nuln Oil and stuff. I'm going to put a nice big thick coat. I'm going to run this all the way around. And then we're going to have to let this baby dry for a while. Now that that's all dried, I'm going to take some Army Painter Uniform Gray. And I am looking for my dry brush. There it is. Got a dry brush here. And I'm going to put just a little bit of paint. I got a piece of paper off camera. Going to rub paint till it looks like it stopped coming off. And that means there's just the right amount. So even though I wiped it on the paper and looked like there wasn't any coming off, and so here on the cloak I'm just kind of going with the lines there. And eventually we'll move to the body. And most of the paint's off, so I'm just hitting it vigorously, hoping something will come off. Get the top of this cowl. Alright, I think that lightened him up some. So you can see with the Necromancer gray versus the black what we did when we washed it with the Nuln Oil and dry brushed it with the uniform gray. You can tell got two different colors here, so it makes it look like two different materials, and it's better than just doing everything in black. There we go. Now I'm ready to go back to my ash gray, put some in palette. Didn't even clean out my dry brush. It's alright. So wiping the last of it off. And now since there's more paint in it, I'm going to hit a lot of the edges of the little surface he's standing on. You can see this will bring out a lot of the character. I think dry brushing's got a bad rep. But you know, since I'm getting low on ash gray in here, it's a perfect time to go hit a couple of these spots. So I don't do every spot I did with the uniform gray. Just a couple of the areas I would get more light. And we'll just keep going around flavoring this base to taste. Now I want his weapons to stand out as different from the rest of the black there, so I'm going to take some Army Painter Wolf Gray. And I'm just gonna, I put loaded up in my brush, and I'm just going to use the side of the tip there. I'm just going to hit some of these lines there. We're going to start working on the reflection that would have. He's got like a little pistol there, so I'll make that. This is just to show that it's of a different plastic metal material than the rest of his outfit, which is cloth. We have all the weapons here on the back. So this is our chance to bring out some of the detail of those. I'm off camera, jeez Louise. Yeah, okay. So you get lost in my own head here. So we take this out of our brush, get some of this shotgun. If I ever feel like I put too much paint on, I just rub the side of my finger down it. See if there's any other weapons here. There we go. Now I'm going to go back to the P3 pig iron. Just because I want to keep the number of the paints I'm using down. I'm just going to get a little bit of paint on my brush, and I'm just going to run around the edge of some of these plates. Now, just the upper edges like that, drawing like a little upside down L. And I'll highlight the plate out. There, that makes them stick out. Alright, now we're on to using Ryan Flesh from P3. And this is where we want to start taking our time. And we don't have to hit that big an area, just around where his face is coming out of the cowling. And I'm not really going to do the eyes. I say that as I'm touching the brush to his eyes. That might be too tight of a spot to get in there. Okay, well, we'll just do the rest of this face. Now we're going to let that skin dry. I'm going to take some repainter matte white. And this is just for a little spot highlight. And some of the weapons here. So use the side of the brush and we do the same thing, just in smaller areas. So we do like a quarter of the areas that we did with the wolf's gray, just to show the light reflecting a little bit. There we go, that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to take some Reikland Fleshshade, open this up. Okay, so when I said open this up, there we go. So I'm going to take my very tiny brush here, I'm going to get some Fleshshade. Just a little swipe across the old kisser like that. And we're going to call it a day. It looks pretty good. Let me back him up here. So the last thing I need to do is paint the rim of the base. So I'll have to take them out of this. So whatever color you paint your rims to match the rest of your floors. I normally go for a black, and I'll do that in a little bit. But otherwise, came together quite quickly. Get this done in a day. So, well, thank you for joining us at Miniature Wargaming Labs, and we'll see you next time.